Welcome back to Capitol Bourbon, everyone. My name is Steven. On today's extra special video, we're going to be reviewing today the Founders Edition of Old Stubborn Batch 3, which I'm super excited for. My previous video, I did review some Old Stubborns I had, as well as the Old Swagger, the High Rye, and the wheated version of Old Stubborn, and those guys were absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed them, and I was able to get my hands here on two single barrels of the two Founders wheated editions. This one here is a Founders Edition, right? Comes in at 121 proof, and there's 126 bottles in this batch, and the one on my right here comes also in at 130.5 proof, definitely a lot higher than the proof, with 123 bottles. Again, both these ones are the wheated, and they did come out with 3 single barrel Founder Reserves. One of them is a rye, however I haven't been able to find that one anywhere or get my grubby little hands on that. That one only had 17 bottles and was 142.5 proof, which is a hazmat, so those are extremely rare and extremely expensive. If you have one of those and you're willing to sell it or give me a sample, really let me know. I'm super interested in that bottle. This one on my left here is the wheated that I reviewed last time as well, just to compare them to each other. And whoops, sorry for that change up there. I actually had the High Rye version when I wanted to have the wheated to do the comparison. So yeah, the wheated one here comes in at 123.32 proof, pretty similar to these guys, and has 175 bottles in the barrel, which is definitely a lot more. And to refresh you guys' memory, these guys are definitely sourced. They come in from around 11 to 14 years old, and they release 15 total bottles, including the Founders Reserve, for batch 3 of 2025 here. And it's rumored that these guys here are sourced from Smooth Ambler, as it is sourced from West Virginia. And Smooth Ambler is only the really distillery that could have been around back then to really source whiskey from. Once again, I cannot get over this packaging here. These tubes are absolutely phenomenal looking. They're absolutely amazing. They're massive too, because the bottles are a little bit wider than most other bottles out there, but fantastic tubes. And without further ado, let's go ahead and unwrap these bottles and see how they look. All right, this is a comparison and try here that I've wanted to do for a few weeks now. Definitely super excited and have had a lot of restraint to not open these bottles just sit on my shelf without recording a video and doing a review for that. So excited to finally be doing this one. And I just want to go over the bottle here real quick. They are such fantastic bottles, such an amazing shape. Gives me an old vintage retro style there from the Prohibition eras. And I do want to mention again that there is a glass bird right there. It is a Cardinal, the Rising Tide Spirits, who makes these there in the bottle. If you can't see that, I'll post some pictures. But it's such an absolutely fantastic bottle. Every one of them has them, including the Old Swagger, and they all are hand blown too as well. So definitely something also noteworthy here from this Old Stubborns. Do not throw the bottle, either sell them, I'm sure there's some value to these guys, or use them as a decanter for your own personal collection. And just looking at the bottles here, you can see that this one, which has 175 bottles in the single barrel, is definitely a lot lighter than these two Founder Reserves here on the right. I can't really tell a difference looking at the bottles from the color on these two Founder Reserves. I don't know if you guys can. But yeah, they look about the same, I would say. So that's pretty exciting there. And they are exclusive barrels, and the Founder did reserve them. So I'm expecting something a little extra special from these guys. And honestly, the price point of these guys is pretty high, coming out at $250 MSRP for each of these bottles here. As I was able to grab this one here on my left, actually in Kentucky, and actually these two on my right, I was able to grab in DC at some stores that got some allocations for them. However, if you did want to find these guys and buy a bottle for yourself, they are a little bit scarce, but the price point isn't too bad considering MSRP. As of right now, I think the secondary prices on all of them really is around $350 to $400. So it is a little bit above the MSRP, but nothing ridiculous like 2x, 3x, like a lot of other Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill products go for on the secondary markets there. All right, without further ado, let's just go ahead and pour these guys up, compare them, and see if they're really worth that price point. All right, and we got them poured up here. I do gotta say those bottles are really fragile. The glass on them is super thin, so definitely be careful when you're pouring them up and definitely don't bang them around. And all three of these, again, once are the wheated. On my left here, we have the one that we tried before, which is 123 proof, I believe. On the middle, we have the 121 proof, and on the right, we have the 130.5 proof. So let's go ahead and start with the one that we tried before we get into the Founders Reserves here. See how it is on nose. Yeah, nose isn't too spectacular. It smells like a lot of wheated bourbons. Like a Weller Antique actually, or like the Origin High Wheat. Yeah, not too phenomenal on nose. So let's go ahead and try it immediately on the palate. A lot of ethanol on nose actually. All right, on the palate. Yep, that's what I remember it as. Super fruity, almost an artificial fruit. I remember saying it was kind of like Laffy Taffy. Still definitely lives up to that. It's really good, really phenomenal there. I believe last time I gave it a rating of 8.5, and I'm definitely gonna stick to that rating. It's an excellent whiskey here. That fruit note just hits so hard on the mid and end palate. The mouthfeel is absolutely phenomenal. It's so velvety and rich. Finish is pretty long, I would say, on this one. Not the longest I've ever had, but definitely pretty good and pretty long. The beginning, you do get kind of like an oaky tannic note, but then it quickly evaporates to a fruity note, Laffy Taffy, artificial sweetness note. Good amount of sweetness, but not overly sweet as well. So this pour here is great, definitely deserves that excellent 8.5 rating. Let's go ahead now, honestly, move on to the Founders Reserve editions. And you can see, again, the color darkness is just so much darker here on the Founders Reserve. Again, this one is the 121 proof. Let's see how this one is on the nose. So excited. Yeah, the nose, immediately a little bit better, a little more sweet. A little sweetness on the nose, but still getting a lot of oak presence there. Just a lot of sweet oak, sugary oak. Decent on the nose. Let's see how it is on the palate. You're getting a lot of similar textures and flavors as this wheated one. But on the Founders Reserve, again, how I mentioned, you're getting that oak kind of bitter tannicness on the beginning. You're not getting that at all. You're just getting an extremely well balance of oak and sweetness throughout the entire palate. This is really phenomenal whiskey. Wow, that's really good. A lot of sweetness. Finish is really, really long. I said, the finish on this one is long, but the finish on this one is longer, and it's really good. The ethanol doesn't hit you at all like this one did a little bit. Wow, that's really good. Such a well done whiskey here. It's not as artificially sweet too. I would say it's kind of like a cherry reduction, cherry jam, I don't know, something like that, cherry compote, maybe one could say that. It's really good. Such a solid and such a well-balanced bourbon, I would say, throughout the entire palate for this one. That's quite addictive, really. It reminds me, honestly, of the old Swagger 12-year bottle and bond that they released, but just at a much elevated and higher proof point, which is great because I really like that old Swagger there too as well. So well done. Complex, creamy, vanilla, fruit, cherry, oak, perfect balance of oak. A lot of these single barrels and kind of the older release of bottles out there, I think are just way too over oaked. This one is a perfect balance of oak and sweetness once again. That's really good. I could finish that glass immediately right now, but I won't because I want to compare them. Let's go ahead and move on to the second one here, the second of the Founders, the third in the lineup here, before we give it a rating. So let's see how this one compares. This is a higher proof one, 130.5. On the nose, you do get a lot more ethanol. Not too much though, and definitely not overwhelming. Yeah, oaky ethanol, like a classic bourbon. Let's go ahead and see how it is on palate. Really excited. That one's a bit different there. I'm gonna go ahead and get a sip of water though before I make too much judgment. Just wanna clear my palate. All right, let's go for one more sip first. This one definitely drinks like 130 proof, I would say. These other ones I think definitely drink below the proof, but this one's definitely drinking like 130. A little bit, I don't know, a little bit more ethanol there, I would say, but not in a super bad way. For this one, definitely a lot less fruity notes and a lot less sweetness. For this one, it's mainly just oak, almonds, kind of sweetness throughout the entire thing. Less fruit on this one for sure. The mouthfeel though, I would say is extra creamy and extra velvety, more than these two here. Probably do that extra proof point, I would say. But yeah, definitely a great mouthfeel on this one. Finish is probably the longest lasting finish out of all three of them. Let's go ahead and see one more time here. This one's a little tricky to decipher. Yeah, a lot more oak tannic sweetness on this one, like a granulated kind of sweetness, like a sugar cube sweetness. A little bit rough, a little intense too there as well. It's good, but honestly, I would say this one, this Founders Reserve here, this one 130.5 proof, is probably my least favorite out of the bunch. A little disappointing there. I don't like overly oaked, and again, this one to me is a little bit overly oaked and kind of masks the other flavors and robustness and complexities that you're getting out of this one here. But again, it just agrees to kind of an oak charness there. So, it's a pretty good bottle. I think it's a very solid bourbon, but this one I'm gonna say immediately is not my favorite. And so finally, to give the rankings here, these two Founders Reserves, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9.2, an absolutely incredible score. It just has everything I really want out of it. A great finish, great mouth texture, it's pretty velvety. The flavors are absolutely immaculate. The fruitiness, the sweetness, and the oakiness, perfect balance of each other and lasts for a pretty good long time there. Only problem is that the MSRP on this bottle is at such a high price point, and they're pretty hard to find. As I want to buy more of these ones here, they're really that good. I would spend that secondary for this bottle here for sure. And before I release this, I might go online and try to see if I can find another one. Definitely one of the top favorite whiskeys I've ever tried here in Capitol Bourbon. Moving on to the next one here, the Founders Reserve 130.5 proof. This one honestly was a little bit disappointing to me. It just didn't have that complexity, a little bit over oaked in my opinion. They're both good bourbons. This one, I would say the middle is a little bit better. This one on the right is a little bit more robust and classic bourbon, and it's still a really good bourbon. But I'm gonna go ahead and give this one an 8.4, which is also below the first speed that we have, which is not a Founders Reserve. I just think this one is better towards my palate again, just more fruity, more sweetness, less oak, versus this one, just a lot of oak sweetness really on this one. Does have a better finish, I would say, at least a longer lasting finish, but the notes on the finish, again, it's just not my cup of tea, my cup of jam. So yeah, this one is not my personal favorite. It is a really good bourbon. If you guys have your opportunity to try this one, definitely go ahead and try it before you make your judgments. Before you buy any of these guys, definitely try them. But all in all, these are all really great bourbons. I'm not disappointed at all. I think they're all worth the price point, especially considering the absolutely phenomenal bottle and tube that you get in. I think that alone is probably worth $30, $40. So considering that, and also with the price of whiskeys. I think there's a lot worse options out there that you could spend your money on. All right, well, that was absolutely a complete pleasure. I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys did too. And I did scratch my itch of finally opening these bottles I've been sitting on for a few weeks here. Please also do not forget to like, comment, subscribe. That helps the channel grow significantly and helps me continue to make this type of content for you guys. Let me know down below what you guys think of the Old Founders, if you tried any of them, which single barrels that you thought were absolutely good, or which single barrels that you tried. And let me know if you want me to review batch 1 and batch 2 of Old Stubborn. I think I have an opportunity to get my hands on a bottle or two, or at least a sample of the batch 1 and batch 2. So let me know if you guys would prefer that one. Those guys are small batch, so they're not single barrels, so it would be a lot easier for me to review that, as I don't have to go and hunt multiple bottles of Old Stubborn, batch 1 and batch 2. So let me know. And without further ado, guys, I hope you have a great one. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.